Welcome back to Sports Overtime. I'm now joined by ESPN NFL Draft insider Jordan Reid. Jordan, we have a lot to unpack here. The Lions are picking 29th. In your mock drafts, who do you have them taking?
There's a lot of different ways that they could go. They could go cornerback, they could go safety, they could go interior defensive line, they could go offensive line. There's so many different ways that the Lions could go right now. And this is what we have seen from Brad Holmes and then the regime there. They like to move around a little bit. They gave us a lot of excitement in last year's draft. So addressing the secondary or the trenches would not be surprising at all.
Do you see the Lions trading up from that 29th pick in round one?
Yeah, it's possible. With Brad Holmes, we never know what he's going to do. Once again, draft day is always very exciting for Lions fans just because you don't know whether they're going to trade up or trade back. That's something that Brad Holmes has really done a good job of, especially drafting in years past. We've seen players make instant impacts, whether it was Jahmyr Gibbs, Penei Sewell, even Sam Laporta, who was a pleasant surprise to a lot of people last year. So just trust Brad Holmes. He's done a great job of bringing young talent onto the Lions over the past few years.
And we are in prime Wolverine country up here. A lot of guys could go in this draft. Is J.J. McCarthy going to go one of those top 4 picks?
I would not be surprised if J.J. McCarthy does go somewhere inside of the top 4, even the top 5. And you talk about teams like the Minnesota Vikings, the Denver Broncos, or even the Las Vegas Raiders actually trading up for him and exchanging picks with the Arizona Cardinals or even the Los Angeles Chargers. There's so many different ways of how that could happen.
And how much have you heard about defensive end Marshon Neal out of Western Michigan in this draft?
There's a lot of excitement about Marshon just because he's seen as a pro-ready player right away at 6'3", nearly 270 pounds. He has power, he has strength, and then he just has an NFL-ready body right away. And that's something that a lot of teams noticed right away, especially early on this season. I always point back to that miraculous Eastern Michigan game where he had 3.5 sacks in that one. That's the type of potential that a lot of scouts feel as if he has on the next level.
And have you noticed the buzz around him getting stronger and stronger as the draft approaches, or was it always strong to begin with?
It was very strong to begin with, but he's really stamped that approval, especially during his time at the Senior Bowl. I think that really helped him a lot just because what you always want to see from those smaller school guys or non-Power 5 players is that how do they adjust to the speed of the game at all-star games like the Senior Bowl, which he did a great job of. So he's continued to check those boxes throughout the pre-draft process, and that's why there's so much excitement about him going into the 25th.
And how is the running back market this year? Could Michigan's Blake Corm go day one?
I would not say day one. I think that would be a little bit too rich for Blake Corm, but he's somebody that's going to be a very popular option, probably somewhere in the 3rd round, if I had to guess right now, just because you look at the body of work for him, how efficient he's been, and then the amount of yards that he's been able to accumulate during his time at Michigan, and then also how much better he's got, even though he has battled through some injuries, but just the perseverance and his continue of his maturation throughout his career with the Wolverines is something that a lot of teams have taken a liking to.
And Michigan had a record number of guys at the NFL Combine. Do you see Michigan also having a record number of guys drafted this year?
Yeah, it's possible. Georgia set the record a few years ago. I believe it was with 15, and they had 18 at the Combine this year. So they definitely could be in reach or even surpass that feat. It would not be surprising to see all 18 players eventually get drafted.
How much of a circus are you anticipating on day one with trades?
It's going to be a lot just because whenever you have a strong quarterback class, there's always going to be a lot of guys that end up getting pushed down the board. If I had to guess right now, we get quarterback picks back to back to back at the top of the draft. So that's going to push some notable name guys down the board. So what happens a lot with that, there's going to be some teams that have them very high on their board and they get aggressive. They end up trading up just because they want to secure their guys. So I think we're going to see a lot of activity on day one.
All right, Jordan, thank you so much, and good luck keeping up with this year's draft. I know it's going to be crazy for you.
Thanks as always.